If 2024 is just a stepping stone, then 2025 is when the strategy game genre will reach the peak of creativity. We are not just talking about commanding troops and generals, but also about managing people, skillful diplomacy, and moral decisions that can change the fate of an entire nation. Below is an in-depth analysis of the top 10 best strategy games of 2025 on Steam. Get yourself a strong cup of coffee, because we're about to dive into endless battles of wits. Number 1. Sid Meier's Civilization VII. After nearly a decade of waiting, Civilization VII not only inherits the throne but also breaks all the old rules of the 4X genre. The biggest breakthrough is the civilization evolution system. Instead of picking a country and going from the Stone Age to the future in a straight line, now you can change your national identity as you move between eras. For example, you might start with ancient Egypt, but you can transform into the Abbasid Empire in the medieval period to take advantage of new geopolitical strengths. The game gets rid of that late-game fatigue, which has always been a chronic issue in previous versions. Now, each era feels like a complete chapter with its own goals and unique crises. The graphics have been refined to look both realistic and artistic, letting players feel the pulse of history in every brick that builds up the dynasty. This is a management puzzle for humanity that anyone who loves logical thinking will be absolutely hooked on. Next up, Manor Lords. Even though it started as an indie project, Manor Lords has risen to become a marvel in the city-building and battle strategy genre. The developer Greg Stickson's extreme attention to detail has created a medieval world that's authentic down to every wooden grain. You don't just plunk houses on the ground, you have to plan according to the terrain, figure out the routes for horse carts, and worry about whether your crops can feed everyone through the harsh winter. The game's military system is a brilliant blend of management and real-time strategy. The soldiers aren't just faceless military units. They're the farmers and blacksmiths you've raised in your village. When you send them out to the battlefield, the price of failure is very high. Losing a squad also means your village will be seriously short-handed for the next harvest. It's exactly this organic connection that makes every decision to declare war feel heavy and full of tactical weight. Third, Frostpunk 2. If the first game was about surviving the snowstorm, then Frostpunk 2 is about living together in society. The story takes place 30 years after the eternal snowstorm, when people are no longer just afraid of the cold, but of each other. The game puts you in the shoes of the leader of a massive industrial city, where you have to balance between opposing factions like the city council, the conservatives, and the reformists. The council mechanism is the highlight. Every law you want to pass has to be voted on. You have to negotiate, bribe, or even suppress the factions to maintain order. The brutality of the game doesn't come from a lack of resources, but from the fact that you're forced to sacrifice the interests of one group to save the majority. The dark graphics, epic music, and philosophical storyline make Frostpunk 2 a heavy psychological experience, but one that's truly worth it. Fourth, Tempest Rising. In a time when classic real-time strategy games are getting rare, Tempest Rising shows up like a savior for those who grew up with Red Alert or StarCraft. The game gives you the thrill of commanding fast-paced armies, building bases with power plants, training centers, and mining Tempest, a rare and dangerous mineral. The clear differences between the three factions, Global Defense Force, Tempest Dynasty, and a mysterious third side, bring a lot of variety to the gameplay. Each unit has its own activated skill, so players need to have really solid micro skills. The single-player campaign is well-crafted, with cinematic cutscenes that draw players into a dramatic global conflict. This is the perfect blend of classic formula and the most advanced graphics technology today. Number 5. Crusader Kings 3. Even though it's been out for a few years, by 2025, Crusader Kings 3 still holds its ground thanks to its unrivaled gameplay in the grand strategy genre. The game doesn't make you control thousands of troops on the battlefield, but instead, you have to manage people. You play as a lord, and your only goal is to help your dynasty survive through the centuries by marrying, assassinating, and using diplomacy. The game's character system is extremely deep, with psychological stats and personality traits. You could be a benevolent king but end up assassinated by your greedy son, or a cunning tyrant who controls the entire church in your hands. Random events keep happening, so no two playthroughs are ever the same. In 2025, with free updates to the estate management system, CK3 becomes even more lively and realistic, turning it into the ultimate Game of Thrones simulator on PC. 6. Stormgate, known as the spiritual successor to StarCraft 2, is developed by some of the brightest minds who ever worked at Blizzard. The game offers a fantasy world that blends science fiction and magic, where humans must fight against demonic legions coming through space portals. This is a game designed to revive the professional competitive RTS community. What sets Stormgate apart is how easy it is to pick up, but hard to master. The quick macro control system helps new players avoid being overwhelmed by economic management, but still keeps enough depth for pros to show off their skills. The 3-player co-op mode against super smart AI is also a big plus, letting you enjoy the game with friends instead of jumping straight into stressful ranked matches. 7. Age of Mythology Retold. It's not just a simple remaster. Retold is a complete overhaul built on the Age of Empires 4 engine. The game brings us back to the era of Greek, Egyptian, and Norse legends. Summoning gods, using powers like Zeus's lightning bolt or calling forth Ro's giant snakes, gives you a sense of power that no other strategy game can match. The upgraded AI makes the battles a lot more challenging. Myth units now have special abilities and their combat effects are really impressive. Especially, the Wonder System and Divine Powers have been redesigned to create unexpected twists in the match. This is the perfect game for anyone who loves a mix of history and fantasy. Number 8. Total War Warhammer 3. Even without counting the DLCs, the base game of Warhammer 3 itself is already a monument in terms of skill. This is the pinnacle of collaboration between Creative Assembly and Games Workshop. The game offers a massive campaign map and real-time battles with thousands of units on screen, from giant dragons to haunting demonic legions. The asymmetry between the different races is its biggest strength. Playing as the Taikai faction, inspired by China with their solid defensive playstyle, is completely different from commanding the Khorne legions. Those fellas only know how to charge in and slaughter. The Chaos Realms mechanics present unique narrative challenges, forcing you to weigh the choice between expanding your territory or defending it against evil entities. 9. Year 1800. In 2025, Anno 1800 will still be the king of the strategy, building, and economic trading game genre. Set against the backdrop of the Industrial Revolution, the game is a tough puzzle about managing supply chains. You start off on a small island with just some farmers, and end up running a multi-regional empire with production lines for cars, light bulbs, and steam engines. The satisfaction in Anno 1800 comes from seeing your system run smoothly. Setting up sea trade routes, dealing with pirates, and competing for influence with other AI rivals creates a really addictive gameplay loop. The game's graphics are so beautiful that you can spend hours just zooming in, watching people move around the city or steamships cutting through the waves offshore. 10. Menace. From the people who created the tactical nightmare Battle Brothers, Menace is a step up into a sci-fi setting. You run an interplanetary mercenary force, taking on dangerous missions at the edge of space. This is an extremely punishing turn-based strategy game, where even the smallest mistake in positioning can lead to the permanent death of your most elite warriors. The game goes deep into its military equipment and terrain systems. You can't just shoot and run, you have to consider elevation, cover, and even your soldiers' morale when they're being suppressed by enemy fire. The character and equipment customization is super in-depth, letting you build a squad that really reflects your own style. If you enjoy the tension of XCOM but want a bigger battlefield, Menace is the answer. You could say, the 10 names just mentioned are proof that the strategy game genre is entering a new golden age. We are seeing the return of legends, the evolution of old ideas, and breakthroughs from up-and-coming studios. Whether you're a brilliant diplomat in Civilization VII, a cunning king in Crusader Kings 3, or a decisive commander in Tempest Rising, there's always a place for your genius mind on Steam in 2025.